Hi, I'm ModernMoses, and I want to talk to you guys about death. How I skip death, what happens to a loved one when he or she dies, and what happens to you after you die. The first thing is that a lot of people know that I was in a very abusive relationship, that I was introduced to Molly in this relationship, that I was trafficked, I turned into an alcoholic. I was just spiraling out of control. So the rule is that when your spirit goes too far out from its purpose, that death is allowed to catch it. So anybody that is in a situation where they're tilted too far out of balance, the pact between God and death is that death is allowed to be unleashed after your soul. Now, there's a lot of people that say, well, what happens about good-hearted people and why do they die? Well, this is another thing that happens. Another thing that happens is that people ask to die in certain places, but you can change that. So the first time that I experienced death was when I took a Molly in a club and I fainted in the bathroom and I went into this white light. Now, a lot of people say they see God in this light. I didn't see anybody. I just seen a white light that's not like any light I've ever seen before. It wasn't any sound at all in this white light, and all I felt was peace. It seemed like I was in this white light forever. But when I woke up in the bathroom, nobody was knocking on the door. It just, it kind of seemed like I wasn't in there for long. But of course, like I just said, it felt like I was in this light for hours, right? The second time I encountered death was when I was told that I was going to die. I went to sleep. I saw the Reaper. And the Reaper in my dream was the same way the Reaper is depicted. He kind of had like a skeleton type of face. He was very, very scary, very intimidating, definitely. I don't know if he's a she or she is a him, but very intimidating. So when I woke up, I wasn't that scared because I was unaware of what I was looking at. I thought maybe I didn't see exactly, but the Reaper was basically just floating over me, and I'm looking from above at him like he's on the ceiling. So I was like, maybe I didn't just see what I think I saw. The next time I go back to sleep, and I can see the Reaper again, but this time he has his staff, and he's leaning against a wall, and he tells me that I was going to die. He's like, you're going to die. And I woke up and I was screaming. And I knew better than to go to a regular pastor because I already had did that when my mom died. And I said I could see her spirit, and it was a whole thing. No pastor could give me any answers. So I went on a search for something very different, and I ended up finding it. And so it ended up putting me back in line with my purpose. So my purpose became about, obviously, sharing this truth that I found. The next thing people ask is that, what happens to my loved one when they pass over? So when your loved one dies, your loved one goes over to the next dimension. It's like welcome over there. So one of the things that is very popular to do that you shouldn't do is start crying and calling out the name, because then that confuses the spirit not to go to the gate in which they should to go for judgment. So you don't want to do that. You also, in the ceremony, there are things that need to be done to make sure that the spirit does go to the gate, and that the spirit is actually put to rest. You will see that spirit again, that loved one again, because there is a rule. The third rule in thermodynamics is no one can get out the game. No one can reach -0. So that's when the rule of M equals MC squared comes into effect. No energy is to be destroyed or destroyed or created, just transferred. So the spirit just transfers from this dimension to the next one. At that point, and this goes for you too, you will be in line waiting for a judgment day where your heart will be weighed against a feather. And we hear about this story in the story of the Ma'at, the scale of the Ma'at, but this is really what happens. So and you will not be able to talk to this dimension. So is there a hell and a heaven, right? Absolutely there is. Hell is a state in which God determines is best for you. So it might be an animal. It might be that your spirit is stuck in darkness. No one wants to be in darkness from what I understand over there. Or your spirit will stay kind of neutral, and then you'll have to, kind of work for God, or you'll go to heaven. But it's really, really tough to get into heaven. Everyone thinks like, oh, I die, I go to heaven. No, not if you didn't finish your purpose. Because if you didn't finish your purpose, then there's a reason for your soul to have to come back here. So at that point, you'll be back in line doing whatever God tells you to do until you get another body. You can occupy another body to come back in here. So there is a heaven and hell. Death is not the end. And if you're in this dimension right now, you didn't make it to heaven the first time.